read 6 books in the month of September, and I wanted to give a little debrief of the ones that I read and what I thought about them. So I started off the month with Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. This is a book that I got from Broken Binding, which, beautiful. They always kill it. Absolutely beautiful. The one and only book subscription that I will ever subscribe to. I actually recently switched, I guess just a side tangent, I recently switched from the fantasy to the sci-fi subscription, and I have been enjoying this model, like pricing model, a lot more. I was just getting way too many books with the fantasy subscription and I wasn't reading them. So I was like, it's so much more convenient to get one a quarter. And they're usually books that I haven't read yet, which I like. So I have been enjoying that. Anyway, Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. I believe I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It is quite long, which I have no problem with that. And I talked about this book a little bit in a previous reading vlog, and kind of my thoughts and concerns about it. So I think this is seen as like a classic science fiction book. I'm not quite sure qualification to be a classic. This was written in 1992. I don't know if it was ever established that only historians are allowed to go back in time. Maybe I missed it, but to my knowledge, only historians are allowed to go back in time so they can catalog events. They're trained to not change time, and they have built up immune systems in order to not bring anything back with them through time. A student decides to go back in time and went back to the Middle Ages. And the Middle Ages are a place where a lot of historians don't go just because it is seen as like level 10, like code red, a very dangerous time to go back to because of all of the plague happening. Especially a woman going back to that time is a lot more dangerous. But somehow she convinces people to allow her to go back to this time. Things are going awry in the past and also in the present. So there's a lot of conflict going on. I do think that this book was way too long. There was a lot of calling people by landline and not being able to reach someone. And that happened enough times for it to be very frustrating and tedious. So this is a series. I am probably not going to read the rest of this series. I just don't know that I'm interested, but it wasn't a complete waste of time. I did finish it. It was at least enjoyable. So the second and third book that I read was Fool's Assassin and Fool's Quest by Robin Hobb. These were both an easy 5 out of 5 stars for me. I think that I did like Fool's Assassin more than I liked Fool's Quest. Actually, no, that's a lie. I'm lying right now. I liked Fool's Quest more than Fool's Assassin. I have a whole vlog about me reading those if you want to go back and watch them. But Robin Hobb is so amazing. Her character work is so beautiful. The pure emotion that she elicits from me should be illegal. I shouldn't be able to feel the things that I do in these books. It's kind of making me tear up just thinking about them. If you don't know about the realm of the Elderlings, which is Robin Hobb's entire world in the books that she writes, there's various trilogies, even tetralogy? I think that's right. I don't think it's a quartet. I think it's tetralogy. And this is the last trilogy in that series. And man, is she trying to make an impact? Because I've read these 2, I'm waiting on the third just because it's longer, and I'm trying to read a few books that my coworker has let me borrow before I get into that one because I know it's going to take me a little while. But if you haven't read Realm of the Elderlings, I cannot stress enough how much you should, especially if you're a fantasy reader, even if you're not a fantasy reader. To be fair, the first trilogy, I hadn't really read anything like that before, which that's not exactly true. I had, but modern fantasy typically isn't written the way Robin Hobb writes. And so I wasn't really sure how I felt about the first trilogy. I know people loved it, and I knew that I should love it, but it really wasn't that impactful to me. I think if I went back and reread it now, I would find a lot more value in it. All of that to say, if you read the first trilogy and you're like, I don't really get the big deal, because that's kind of how I felt, reading the second trilogy just blew me away. And the second trilogy gets a lot of hate, I think, because all of the characters, just about every character, is despicable. You hate them. But I love a book that elicits any sort of strong emotion from me. Even if I hate every single character that I'm reading about, it brings me so much joy. Because being able to feel emotions like that to something that's written on a page is so incredible. And so few people can do that for me. And Robin Hobb just kills it. More than likely, if you hate a character that Robin Hobb has written, your opinion will probably change about that person by the end of the story. You're on this journey with them, truly. So all of that to say, I cannot wait to read the last one in this trilogy. I am sad though, because it will be like saying farewell. And I don't know if I am emotionally ready for that quite yet, but that's Robin Hobb. I totally forgot I had these fake candles on my shelf, so that's why they're on now, because they're cute. Anyway, the fourth book that I read in September was Mother of Learning, which is a lit RPG book. I enjoyed this book. I believe I gave it a 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not super eager to get into the second one. I don't know if time loops are really for me, just because they grow to be very tedious. However, Mother of Learning is about a mage student who goes to mage school. He sees himself as being less successful and less ambitious than his other siblings. His oldest sibling, I think, is like one of the greatest mages of all time. So he feels like he's having to live up to this expectation, both in school and with his parents. He's in his third year of school, and at the end of that first month, there's a battle that's waged on the town, and which is odd because they're not at war with anyone. So they don't know where these soldiers and trolls are coming from. He ends up dying in this battle, but wakes up on the first day of that month and basically just gets caught in this time loop. So there's a lot of progression over the course of years. It did grow to be a bit tedious for me. Yeah, I just don't think that time loops are really my thing. So that's what I learned from that book. It was still enjoyable. I still had fun reading it. It was pretty funny at times, and maybe it gets a little bit better. I think I've heard that it gets worse though, so not looking too good for me. The fifth book I read was Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. This was loaned to me from a coworker and it's short, so I was like, I can just knock this out. I actually really enjoyed this. She hasn't read this yet, but I really liked it. It was kind of fun. Basically, this girl is going to school for folklore. She has this teacher, is very mysterious. You can only attend her class if you can find it. It's not on the actual class catalog, but at the end of the year, it ends up on your transcript, and it's in secrecy. She is currently getting her master's, and she has an interesting past that you don't quite know about. And she's really interested in figuring out all of these secrets from her class and if they were real. And so it's a great book for October. I really recommend you read this. I don't even think this has come out yet. I think it comes out on October 7th. So I don't know if this was a early release by book of the month or what, but I do highly recommend that you read this in October. It was a lot of fun. It kept me glued to the page. I was really interested, and it's a quick read. So it's fast paced and it's short. It was a lot of fun. So I was really surprised with this one. I do recommend it. The last book, well, first I want to talk about a book that I DNF'd. I haven't convinced myself that I've DNF'd it yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to DNF it. We're getting into October. It's the end of the month. I had been wanting to read Fever Dream by George R. Martin for months, and I had been looking for it for a really long time. And it's weird because like I was searching for this book. I didn't want to buy it online. I was like, if I find it, great. If I don't, I don't. I go to Barnes & Noble, 9 copies of this book on the shelf. I have never seen this book in store before, ever. And then suddenly there's 9 copies. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm getting one of those. So I've been putting it off for closer to Halloween because if you don't know, this is a vampire book by George R. Martin. It was written in 1982. So I was really excited about this. I love George R. Martin. I was like, he's gonna write a vampire book? That's crazy. This is not good. That's actually not very fair of me. I think it's good if you like steamboats, but I don't. I really like a boat setting, and I used to think that I didn't. I used to think that boats bored me, and I think they do, but I like a boat setting. I don't like hearing about boat parts and what a boat does and what it takes to run a boat. And I don't care about the nuance of the boat industry. And this had a lot more to do about steamboats and their functionality than it did about vampires. I got 96 pages through this book, so I gave it a pretty good shot. And it probably talked about vampires a handful of times. This one was not for me. But the last book I read in September was Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. I've read a few books in the Discworld, so I've read Color of Magic, Mort, Reaper Man, and Guards. And man, do I love Terry Pratchett. He's just so clever and so witty. I don't think that there's anyone who can write like Terry Pratchett. He's such an incredible author, and Small Gods was just as good as I expected. I gave that a 5 out of 5 stars. My friend was actually reading Small Gods, and I was like, I'm gonna be sneaky. I'm gonna read Small Gods too. So I read it at the same time as him. And it's just such a good discussion of religion versus faith and how people end up believing in the religion more than they do their faith or their God. And he writes in such a silly way that you don't even realize you're learning something. And it was just incredible. It was one of those books that you have to put down for a bit and think about it and really try to understand what you're reading. It was very philosophical. Terry Pratchett also does an interesting thing, if you haven't read Terry Pratchett before, where he doesn't have any chapters. It's just page breaks. And I kind of like that. I like that a lot, which leads me into the book that I'm currently reading. I will not be finishing this in September, but I thought I'd just give a shout out. I'm currently reading Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. Since Fever Dream didn't quite do it for me, I was like, you know what? I need another vampire story. And I've been sitting on this one for a while too. I've been waiting for the spooky season to read Interview with the Vampire. And she also doesn't do chapters. She also just does page breaks. And you go 40 to 50 pages waiting for a page break. Terry Pratchett's a little bit more forgiving. He has a lot of page breaks in his book, and Anne Rice and Interview with a Vampire, nada. But I feel like I saw a quote once where someone was like, there's no point to have chapters. Like, I don't know. I have to do more research on that. Anyway, I've been really enjoying this. I am 70 pages through this book, and this is a lot of fun. It's giving a lot of Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, which isn't really fair because I'm sure Empire of the Vampire is giving a lot of Interview with the Vampire. I'm sure that's where he got a lot of his inspiration from. I haven't seen this movie either, so I really have no idea what to expect with this one, but so far I'm really enjoying it. So that's everything that I've read in the month of September. I have a few spooky books planned for the month of October. October is generally a very busy month for me though, so I'm hoping I get a lot of reading in. I have a lot to do in October, and it's hard for me to just sit and read when I know I have a lot to do, but I'm gonna do my best. Hopefully I can meet my reading goal this month. I am 71 books out of 75 books read for the year. So hopefully I will meet that target, but I am very curious about what you have read in September. I'm also very curious about what you plan to read in October, because I am always looking for fall spooky recommendations. So thanks for watching.